This is This Week in Space, episode number 52, recorded on March 10th, 2023. Bill Nye, the Science Guy, joins us for our first streaming video episode.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is This Week in Space, episode number 52, recorded on March 10th, 2023. Bill Nye, the Science Guy, talks space. This episode of This Week in Space is brought to you by Bitwarden. Get the password manager that offers a robust and cost-effective solution that drastically increases your chances of staying safe online. Get started with a free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or get started for free across all devices as an individual user at bitwarden.com/twit. And by ACI Learning. If you love IT Pro, you'll love ACI Learning. ACI Learning offers fully customizable training for your team and formats for all kinds of learners across audit, cybersecurity, and IT. From entry-level training to putting people on the moon, ACI Learning has got you covered. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit to learn more. Hello and welcome to another episode of This Week in Space, We're Talking to the one and only original science guy, Bill Nye edition. I'm Rod Pyle, editor-in-chief of Ad Astra Magazine. I'm joined by the idiosyncratic Tariq Malik. How are you today, Tariq?
I'm doing well, Rod. Doing well. Excited to talk about science today.
Yes. Well, with the expert.
That's right.
Our very special guest, as mentioned, is Bill Nye, the one and only science guy, CEO of the Planetary Society, host and executive producer of The End is Nigh on Peacock. Watch it. And to add just one more show to his already lengthy Emmy Award-studded resume. Hello, Bill. Thanks for coming today.
It's so good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. We've been thinking about this for, well, let's see. This is our 1 year anniversary, Tariq. So I think we were talking about it a year ago. So
week 52.
Thanks for coming, Bill. Yes. So
Wow,
before we begin,
good, guys, congratulations on a full year.
Yeah, thank you.
That doesn't include the 8 beta episodes. So Tariq, I believe you're going to deliver a wonderful crackling space joke today.
Oh, yes. I have the joke for this week. Again, very rare. That's 2 in a row, I think, for me. So Rod, an astronomer, left her candy out and it got all moldy, but she was super excited. Do you know why?
I don't know why, Tariq. Please tell me.
Well, because she found life on Mars bar. Ooh, I got the drums this time. I got the drums. So well, it was lame. I know. It was lame.
You're coming along. I appreciate that. And to our lovely audience, please don't forget to join Team Tariq and send us your best or worst space joke as you see fit. And please don't forget to do us a solid. Make sure to like, subscribe, and all that good podcast stuff, because we bring you this wonderfulness every week for free. Let's move on to...
You mean you expected people to pay you for water on Mars?
Yes, sir, we did. No, we are free, and we like being free.
Yeah, that's good.
So Tariq.
Yes.
And Bill, if you care to comment, we have an asteroid inbound eventually. This coming to us from Live Science, asteroid 2023 DW, which is discovered on February 27th, has an estimated it keeps changing, 1 in 600 chance of hitting Earth in about 20 years. It's about 160 feet across, so it's not exactly a county killer, but it's still something you'd rather not encounter. And we're continuing to observe and see what's up. What do you know?
Yeah, well, this is a new asteroid, as its name suggests, 2023 DW, discovered this year by astronomers who track the skies looking for dangerous space rocks. We all want to know where they are. It's about the size of an Olympic-sized swimming pool, if you want to put that into perspective. And by a weird coincidence, its kind of close encounter is on Valentine's Day in 2046. So if you were looking for a date and you're going to need one in what is that, like 23 years? Then there you go. But it's another example. You know, people are talking about it because, oh my gosh, it's going to get really super close to the Earth. 1 in 600, NASA said that's still fairly remote, but it's not zero. And it's good to watch. And you can bet that the astronomers themselves will have their telescopes trained on it. But it's just another reminder that that there are these asteroids that are out there. You know, we actually get flybys almost every day in between the Earth and the Moon's orbit, of the really small ones, the ones that don't pose that big of a risk at all. But there are these ones that we can find that where we know that they're going to come pretty close, and you can get ready for them. And one really exciting thing about this is that we've got this nice date and encounter that people, astronomers, can target to go look for them. That scientists can plan to observe it, and we've already seen that NASA has smacked an asteroid with the DART mission last year and shown that they can actually move them. And so they know that they've got at least one proven technique, as long as they've got some heads up. If it gets too close, they could always keep that in their hip pocket. I don't know. We'll see.
So, Bill, I know Planetary Society's done a lot of work and put an emphasis on planetary defense. And we'd all like to see the NEO surveyor go, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and Amy Mainzer was quoted today in Space News. She says they hope to put this thing in space and not really find anything. That's her,
Yeah.
Well, everybody, 50 meters, 160 feet in English. Yeah. That's a pretty good chunk of rock, you guys. That's, I think Chelyabinsk was 10 meters.
Yeah.
15.
A little bigger.
And so this is 100 times that, and then in volume, it's probably 1,000 times as massive. So it could do a lot of damage. And when you say, oh, we'll see, it won't be here for 23 years. 23 years is about the minimum you can have to give something a nudge in the DART, double asteroid redirection test fashion. And so if this thing's going to hit, it could be, if I may, a stone drag. And you also use the term new asteroid.
Newfound. I should have said newfound.
Yeah, well, of course. I did because I love. One of the reasons they're so interesting is because apparently, as near as we can figure, they're part of the primordial solar system. So when we study these, we work our way toward answering one of the two giant questions. Where did we come from?
Yeah.
We come from, and are we alone? So anyway, 1 in 600 chance, everybody. You would not get in a car. You would not get on a plane.
No.
That had a 1 in 600 chance of having serious trouble. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Incoming.
That's right.
Okay. Next up, we got our rocket roundup. Japan loses its first H-3 rocket. Very unfortunate event.
Yeah.
We had three. It was a pretty busy week for space. So number one, obviously, as you mentioned, Japan lost their first H-3 rocket, next generation, a successor to the H-2. It is going to be the one that they're going to launch new cargo vehicles, new commercial satellites on, and hardware for future space exploits. It was disappointing. They did have a pad abort during initial launch try, and then when they finally got down to it, they had an issue with the second stage, and they sadly lost the vehicle. They have formed an investigative team right now to kind of pin down exactly what happened. I would kind of caution everyone in terms if they're worried about what this means for Japan's space program. It's a brand new rocket. Seeing a failure or difficulties anywhere would not be surprising, and we may be spoiled in recent times where we see rockets take off from SpaceX, etc., like all the time. It's just a reminder that it is a difficult industry, and this is going to be their next generation go-to rocket. So they are committed to solving that. Kind of close on the heels for that was Relativity Space and their Terran 1 rocket. Now that is it's billed as the world's first 3D printed rocket. They've got this thing they call Stargate, which is very sci-fi, that prints up metal, the metal chassis and everything from soup to nuts. For the most part, it's 85% 3D printed. Very, very cool, but is meant to launch smaller satellites, about medium range or so. And they are looking to really enter the market right now too, launching out of Cape Canaveral. They were not able to get off the ground this week, but they're targeting a weekend launch now after an initial abort. And that's going to be a company to watch because they're looking to manufacture these rockets at scale and have planned what looks like a mini Starship version, a mini version of SpaceX's Starship for for fully reusable 3D printed vehicles. That's very exciting. We'll see if they can corner the market that they're pursuing with that medium launch range for satellites and other payloads. But a lot is riding on this rocket because Relativity Space has been around for a number of years, building up the infrastructure to mass produce rockets. And this is their actual first flight test for the rocket itself. And then capping that with another weekend is the fact that Rocket Lab is going to launch their second U.S. mission with an Electron booster from Virginia. So that should be exciting to watch. And SpaceX's Crew 5 astronauts are returning from the International Space Station. That's two NASA astronauts, a Japanese astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut. They come back to Earth late Saturday night. So it's going to be a pretty busy weekend with all of these flights coming in. But just a kind of a bunch of a bit of a mix of some trials with Japan and the abort that Relativity Space had, and some hopeful tribulations with the successful Crew 5 landing and maybe Rocket Lab's second flight.
Very good. And finally, very quickly, we're coming up on an announcement for the Artemis 2 crew update. We're excited about that.
That's in April, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. This
Canadian will be along. Yeah, that'll be great.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what we've been waiting for actually since Artemis 1 splashed down last year. Is when is Artemis 2's crew gonna be named? NASA did announce this week that on April 3rd. Mark your calendars at 11 o'clock, I believe, Eastern time, is when they're going to unveil the crew in Houston. As Bill, as he mentioned, it will include one Canadian Space Agency astronaut at least, and we're expecting at least one woman. NASA's been pretty committed to that. But exactly who they're going to be, we don't know. Initially NASA rolled out in 2020 a cadre of astronauts that were the Artemis team. Since then, they have actually come out and said that it's not just those astronauts that they've named for that team. It's actually open to the whole astronaut pool.
Well, we can't talk about it, but there's some other people.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing who's going to be on that list, who their backup crew is going to be, and then what that might mean for Artemis 3, which is the one that will eventually land on the moon. Artemis 2 will launch around the moon, very Apollo 8 style. Although I don't think they're going to orbit, if memory serves. I think they changed that, and then they're gonna follow that up with the crewed landing, and we'll see how that develops.
So it is just going to go to the moon and land.
It's gonna for Artemis 2, yeah. It's just gonna kind of go and loop around on a free return trajectory right now. So.
And then for Artemis 3, which might be what Bill was referring to, it's kind of a long story, so we'll take that up another episode. But there's a rendezvous with Lunar Starship, and they're going to be basically landing a semi truck on its back end on the surface of the moon. So
all while going, 17 miles or 7 or 8 miles a second.
Yeah.
And then take that long elevator down to the moon's surface too. It's a big drop.
Well, that's better than the knotted rope that they used when Bill and I were kids, since we're about the same age. Because in those old black and white classics, you always climb down a knotted rope ladder.
Very reliable.
Well, that's true, and you always had Mona the space monkey along to make sure that everything went well. So those were the days.
I didn't have Mona. No wonder I had trouble.
Oh no!
Back to you.
Yes, sir. All right, let's take a break to hear from our friends at Bitwarden. Our show is brought to you by Bitwarden, the only open source cross-platform password manager that can be used at home, at work, or on the go, and is trusted by millions. Even our very own Steve Gibson has switched over. With Bitwarden, all the data in your vault is end-to-end encrypted, not just your passwords. Protect your data and privacy with Bitwarden by adding security to your passwords with strong, randomly generated passwords for each account. Go further with the username generator. Create unique usernames for each account, or even use any of the 5 integrated email alias services. Bitwarden has new features to announce in their latest February release, including significant updates to the key derivation function encryption. New Bitwarden accounts will use 600,000 KDF iterations for PBKDF2 as recommended by OWASP. Argon 2 ID is also an optional alternative KDF for users seeking specialized protection. A stronger master password has a higher impact on security than KDF iterations, so you should have a long, strong, and unique master password for the best protection. Master password security checks. New users who create their accounts on mobile apps, browser extensions, and desktop apps can now check known data breaches for their prospective master password via HIBP. Logging in with a device is now available for additional clients. Login requests can also be initiated from browser extensions, mobile apps, and desktop apps. Share private data securely with coworkers, across departments, or the entire company with fully customizable and adaptive plans. Bitwarden's Teams Organization option is $3 a month per user, while their Enterprise Organization plan is just $5 a month per user. Individuals can always use the basic free account for an unlimited number of passwords. You can upgrade anytime to a premium account for less than $1 a month, or bring the whole family organization option to give up to 6 users premium features for only $3.33 a month. At TWiT, we're fans of password managers. Bitwarden is the only open source cross-platform password manager that can be used at home, on the go, or at work, and is trusted by millions of individuals, teams, and organizations worldwide. Get started with a free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or get started for free across all devices as an individual user at bitwarden.com/twit. That's bitwarden.com/twit. All right, so Bill, we want to talk about how you got involved in what you do, because I think that's an interesting story, but I just wanted to clear one thing up first. I know that you got, which might be a record, 19 Emmys.
Well, the show,
the science guy. Yeah.
The show got 19 Emmys. I got 7.
Oh, you got 7 named. Oh, personally. Well, that's 7 more than most of us have. So that's quite a bit. How many since then?
I'll just tell you, if you have them, like they'll fit, do you know those milk cartons?
Yes.
If you have those with you and you go to Starbucks, a latte is like $5. It's fabulous.
Yeah. And
in other words, you're only as good as your latest latte or something. I got 5 of them for writing. The guys and gals I wrote with were really good. But then I did get producer and performer, which has meant a great deal to me.
I bet. And your new show, you've got some great writers working with you as well.
Yeah. Oh man, Corey's back. My buddy Corey Pyle.
Yeah.
CC Pleasance. CC writes for Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh.
And they're really good, really good. And I work with Brandon Braga, and for you science fiction fans out there, he did Salem, and he produced the modern versions of Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
So
Corey Pyle was my instructor to teach me all about science writing. So I'm really excited to see that.
NYU or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I haven't spoken with him for 3 or 4 hours, but yeah, he's a good guy. So we're working on a new thing together right now.
Before we launch into more current day stuff, could you just give us a little bit of a stroll through how you got where you are? Because this is, there's only one of you.
Well, that used to be true. I digress just a little, but now with the electric internet, the young people with their phone machines, nowadays you have Derek Muller on Veritasium. You have Emily Calandrelli, Space Gal. You have Astro Athens. And for those of you who know Physics Girl.
Oh, yeah.
McCowan. She's, just a lovely person, MIT, brilliant, just excellent pedagogy, really good at teaching. Anyway, she has freaking long COVID, man.
Yeah.
She's knocked down.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for something to do, check out, apparently we can make contributions or help her at Patreon, that subscription service.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mentioned that because all of those people are now doing, in many ways, what I did or continue to do on television on this modern platform, which would be writ large, the internet. Some of them are subscription services. Some of them are paid for or funded rather by public broadcasting, what have you. But It's what you do now if you are a science educator on video. So how far back do you want to go when we're talking about me?
Well, I think for me, I'm just kind of interested in, I mean, one reason I went into space journalism ultimately and books was because in my case, my science background wasn't as strong as it should be. I lasted about a year in UCLA astronomy and discovered it was all math and said, oops, I don't think that was the case for you.
Fun.
What's that?
No, it's not just that. I don't mean to be disrespectful to astrophysicists, but most of it's algebra, which is cool.
Right. Well,
Okay,
it's cool.
now I'm going to get sued. No, there's lots of yes, there's lots of
it's cool if
wave
you're
functions.
if you're good at those things, yeah. But I assume you had a slightly different path in. I think you became an engineer first, correct?
Well, it's bicycles and airplanes. Those are things I really liked. I continue to love bicycles and airplanes, and so that's mechanical engineering. I mean, I like a steam engine as much as the next guy, but it was bicycles and airplanes for me. Back to you. Yes. So how far back do you want to go? I worked in a bike shop when I was 15. And look, I'm fine. And then
still got all your fingers and everything.
Yeah, but you do get, you get over the summer, you'll get very strong thumbs. I don't know how many of you change bicycle tires.
Tires,
but I
that's right.
strongly recommend that you put them on just with your hands. You don't use any, especially metal tools that might cut the tube or damage the tube. But that aside, I had an outstanding physics teacher in high school, Mr. Lang. I took the physics AP exam back in the disco era when it was new. And through some remarkable clerical error in the admissions department, I went to Cornell University. But I mean, you can hold it against them. I mean, mistakes were made. All right. But then when I was a senior, having completed all my engineering requirements, I could take some electives. I took astronomy from Carl Sagan at the height of his powers. And it was just cool. It was all that. The guy was a poet, man. I mean, he was so thoughtful, and he was really into Mars, and he was really into planetary atmospheres. He was talking about climate change in 1977, before it was the thing, about why is Venus the way it is, why is Mars the way, is the Earth the way it is, atmospherically. And you can compare the three planets just in terms of or solving for carbon dioxide, and you get pretty far along in determining their climates.
And then the
people, I got
Well, I mean, Carl Sagan always gets I should be more of a but
well, he was all that. I mean, I was there. It was before he produced the original Cosmos.
Yeah.
But what I tell everybody, when I saw the original Cosmos, it was his lectures made cool, with travel video.
But as you said, the man was just such a poet. I mean, he
really was very, very thoughtful about
Yeah.
our place in space, as I like to call it. So then what happened, you guys? He started the Planetary Society along with Bruce Murray, who was the head of the Jet Propulsion Lab at that time, and Lou Friedman, who was an orbital mechanician, is that a noun, at JPL, Jet Propulsion Lab. And they started the Planetary Society in 1980 because they felt that public interest in space was high, but government support of space exploration, especially deep space exploration, was on the wane. After Viking landed on Mars, the two Viking landers in 1976, the next mission to Mars wasn't for 21 years.
Yeah.
So they started the Planetary Society. I'm a charter member. And then Carl Sagan's kids, with Anne Drian, Sam and Sasha Sagan, watched the Science Guy show. So I was asked to speak at his memorial service. He died of some crazy blood thing. It was bad. At that memorial service in Ithaca. By the way, you guys, when you go to school in Ithaca, whether you go to Ithaca High School, Ithaca College, or Cornell University, you have great affection for Ithaca. There's a lot of people I know who never left Ithaca and always go back to Ithaca. It's a very pleasant place. For those hipster vegetarian chefs out there, the Moosewood Cafe is in Ithaca, for example. Anyway, I was asked to speak at his memorial. Then I was asked to be on the board of the Planetary Society. This is in 1997, back in the 20th century. And I was on the board. Then I became vice president. And that happens when you're not paying attention. But then the Planetary Society has a thing we do from time to time, not annually, only when we feel there is a worthy recipient. We give out the Cosmos Award. The last guy to get it was Alan Stern, the guy who really, through decades of diligence, got that mission to Pluto and beyond. It went by different names, but people settled on New Horizons, and the spacecraft's like $600 million. I mean, really, it was, it did almost flagship quality or quantity work for half or a third, a fifth of the price.
Right.
It just woke up this week too, actually. They just woke it back up again.
More data. It's amazing. It is a long flipping way out there, man.
Yeah.
And the antenna is as big as a manhole cover. And they're able to get, it's amazing. And so let's call it a street access cover. And so we gave Stephen Hawking the Cosmos Award, and we went to Cambridge in Britain, a few of us. And I had dinner with Stephen Hawking. Check me out. And his thing was pate. That was what he liked to eat. And you can say what you will, vegetarians, about pate, but that's what he liked to eat. Don't shoot the messenger. And then at that meeting, we were like, wow, we met Stephen Hawking. Wow. We went to a pub in Cambridge, populated by Cambridgians. And it was, I don't know if you guys know Dan Gerassi. He's a big space enthusiast, and he's our chairman of the board. He has a lot of space souvenirs. He works in various space industries. He's an entrepreneur. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was there, and they said, we want you to be CEO of the Planetary Society. And this, I was, I won't say incredulous, but the modern expression is, really? And then if you guys may have done this, I left the area. It was on the top deck of this pub. And I came, and they had taken a vote. And now I'm CEO. So just careful when you leave the room. And so I've been CEO for 12 years now. And I claim I've managed to stay out of the way of people who are really good. We have had, over the years at the Planetary Society, we have had a lot of extraordinary people. People who are just space nerds, geologists, very accomplished journalists, accountants, finance people. But the group of people we have now, I claim, is the best we've ever had. The synergy, the chemistry, the work together-tivity of the people right now. I'm really proud of them. I just try to stay out of the way.
Well, I have to say, I visit your headquarters occasionally. Last time was when Matt Kaplan was still running the show.
Oh, there. Yeah, way back. Matt Kaplan hasn't been running that for 6 weeks.
Yeah, right.
No, he just retired, everybody.
But he
retired from being the host. He's still working there. We're still paying him.
Oh, okay.
But he's not the host of Planetary.
Wait, Matt gets paid? No, we'll talk about that another time. I'm jealous now.
Speaking of me and Matt, more about me. Kind of very soon after I started, back in 2010, in the 21st century. Do you guys know who Jennifer Vaughn is, everybody? She's our chief operating officer.
Oh, yes.
COO. And she is the key to the place, you guys. I mean, I'm around and I'm once in a while I'm asked to think of something, but Jennifer Vaughn is this freaking genius. Anyway, I said to her, we should hire Matt full time. He was only working part time. He was a professor, I guess maybe an adjunct professor at Cal State Long Beach, right. California State in Long Beach. And she said, yeah, I already did that. I hired him 3 months ago.
So thanks for the idea, boss.
Yeah, exactly. I just try to stay out of the way. But Matt's hosted that thing for 20 years. And you guys, he not only hosted it, and you know how much work this is. He booked all the guests. He made these personal contacts with all these extraordinary interviewees, many of whom were on more than once. And he produced it. He did the editing. He's a gearhead. He loves the wires and the knobs and the pot sliders and all that stuff. And
yeah.
So he's retired from that because he's a grandfather, and he also wants to pass the torch. So for those of you who haven't listened, Sarah Ahmed is really good. Yeah. She worked at Griffith Observatory. She's an astrophysicist. She worked with, I guess, Steve Soder at the American Museum of Natural History. She's a real deal. Check her out.
Yeah, and she really came in on fire.
Yeah, she's great. And so Matt's still working there. That's all. That digression was Matt still
okay.
He visited the Planetary Society headquarters in Pasadena. And then what happened?
Well, my point was just that the thing runs like a well-oiled machine. I mean, I work with the National Space Society a lot. We're virtual. We're distributed. And I wish we had a headquarters like that, because to go in there and watch how things just happen is really inspiring. And it's, it's a great group.
That's great, man. So we hired a really cool architect who works in Pasadena at the Wren Group. And it's our headquarters used to be a bank. I used to think it was Great Western, but it wasn't. Sounds like that. But anyway.
Yeah, Security Pacific, I believe.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have the vault. The vault door is not there. That's some rule they have. But the vault is an excellent recording studio because the walls are thick concrete.
Right.
No, for reals. And
it's
so
nuke-proof, yeah.
And we have the hanging glowing planets. It's very, I mention it because I believe we have built a good workspace where there's enough interaction without too much interaction. There's enough privacy for people can concentrate, but enough wandering around room where people can come up with ideas. And so speaking of, have you guys signed up for the planetary community, the membership community, MemCom?
I don't believe I have.
Come on, people.
Get with it.
Where's my electric phone? Yes, it's on your electric phone. And the logo, there's our logo. You touch on it and you can connect with all sorts of people who live around you, events like the eclipses are coming up. And you can send messages. And the thing that we spend a lot of time, effort, and energy on, it is secure. It's very important. There's this business of GDPR, global data privacy regulation.
European,
so we have that squared away. But it's really good. I'm very proud of it. So we had the soft launch, as we call it, day before yesterday. We've got the hard launch. We have our launch festival on Saturday, the 18th of March. So turn it up loud, people.
Okay, so for people not watching the video, what would they look for? They go to the App Store?
The App Store, yeah.
And what's it called again?
Planetary app. Planetary Society app.
Excellent.
But I wonder if it's not called Planetary Membership. But you'll find it. How many planetaries are there? You'll also see TPS, the Planetary Society.
Right.
And V is part of the trademark. Don't come running to me, people.
Capital V. All right. Let's stand by one for a message from our friends at ACI Learning. You know that IT Pro brings you engaging and entertaining IT training. Now IT Pro is part of ACI Learning. Together, IT Pro and ACI Learning are expanding their production capabilities, bringing you the content learning style you need at any stage of your development. Whether you want individual training for yourself or want to train your whole team, ACI Learning and IT Pro have got you covered. You can join more than 227,000 members of the IT Pro learning community with access to 6,800 hours of content, and new content is added daily, and it's good stuff. Get team training for CompTIA, Microsoft IT training, Cisco training, Linux training, Apple training, Security Cloud, and a lot more. You know, one of the most widely recognized beginner certifications is the CompTIA A+. CompTIA courses from IT Pro and ACI Learning make it easy to level up your employees who have vested interests in cybersecurity. The most popular certifications offered by ACI Learning include CISSP, AWS, ISACA, and CCNA. Other in-demand tech skills and certification courses offered are Technical Support Specialist, Computer User Support Specialist, Information Security Analyst, and a lot more. Certifications show more than proving a skill set. They let your customers see that you're committed to keeping your organization up to date. And ACI Learning and IT Pro are with you every step of the way. With an IT Pro business plan, ACI Learning offers fully customizable training for your team. You can track your team's results, manage your seats, assign unassigned team members, and access monthly usage reports. See metrics like logins, viewing time, tracks completed, and more. You can also manage teams, manage subsets of users or teams by providing them with customized assignments, monitoring progress, and reporting on usage of the platform. Assignments can be full courses or individual episodes within courses. Get full access to advanced reporting. Get immediate insight into your team's viewing patterns and progress over any period of time with visual reports. You know, respected communities and government agencies around the globe turn to IT Pro and ACI Learning year after year to help them maintain their competitive edge. Supporting organizations across audit, IT, and cybersecurity readiness, ACI Learning keeps you and your team at the top of your game. From entry-level training to putting people on the moon, ACI Learning has got you covered. Maintain your company's competitive edge with ACI Learning and visit go.acilearning.com/twit. That's go.acilearning.com/twit. And for those of you looking to start today with a standard or premium individual IT Pro membership, use TWiT30 to get 30% off.
You know, that actually is a great segue to kind of what I had hoped to kind of ask about, because, you know, the society is about, you know, celebrating the exploration of space, connecting people of like minds who believe in that mission there. And it seems like, you know, from the outside, that we're on a bit of a tear when it comes to you know, the missions that have been, you know, either reaching their milestones or whatnot. Last year we had, of course, the DART Impact that we talked about, the Perseverance rovers and Ingenuity flying on, I guess, their second year now on the Red Planet. And you know, we kind of talked a bit about the you know, off the air about what this year is going to bring, and I was curious what you and the society are looking forward to the most in terms of those big milestones that people should be looking for to see happen this year.
Let me start with this. Right now, spring of 2023 is the most exciting time in space exploration since the Apollo era.
Uh-huh.
So if you're of any age, right now is a very exciting time. We talked about the asteroid early on in this podcast. So this year, recently, as you mentioned, DART, everybody understand what the difficulty was there that everybody pulled off. Double asteroid redirection test. Figuring if you could smack into an asteroid hard enough, you'd slow it down enough that it would fall toward its companion asteroid, its double asteroid pair companion, and its orbit would speed up. And I don't make the rules, that's physics. So I can't change the law. And so,
are you sure?
Yeah, I am very sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the difficulty, everybody, was it was so far away from Earth that you couldn't send commands to steer it, to direct it. The spacecraft had to be autonomous. It had to be able to do its own thing, find the smaller of the two objects, going at 40 kilometers a second, I guess, and then hit it as square on as possible, and still send information back all the way to the last moment. And it worked. And so that was that will no doubt inform all sorts of future asteroid missions. And speaking of, we're going to bring back a sample of Bennu this year. And Bennu, by the way, was named by Mike Ezio, who was in third grade. Now the guy's in grad school. That's how long it takes to do stuff. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. And I was there when Call Me Charlie Bolden, the head of NASA, got to meet Mike. Anyway, also this year we're working on Neo Surveyor, the Near Earth Object Surveyor. And there's going to be the JUICE mission out to Jupiter. And the reason you want to know about Jupiter is why isn't Jupiter a star? What happened there exactly? And what if it were? And apparently we all need Jupiter to keep the Earth from getting hit with various asteroids. We need its gravity. And for those of you who for some reason have not watched the End is Nigh episode where we have an asteroid, a comet nucleus impact. Well, turn it up loud, everybody. It's streaming on Peacock and it airs on Sundays now on National Geographic. So, or airs, it cables, whatever it does. It's a very exciting time in space exploration. So I say all the time, you guys, I do not want the Earth to get hit with an asteroid. It's very important. When I was in school, nobody had a good idea of what happened to the ancient dinosaurs. I mean, people speculated all. I just remember very well. The ancient dinosaurs had small brains. So the rabbits took all the dinosaur food. And I remember my teacher, Ms. McGonigal, just shaking her head. They asked me to read this book to you all, but this is crazy. So then there's hypotheses about viruses or global diseases. Okay, could be. But the asteroid impact is the one that really has caught on as the most reasonable hypothesis. So we don't want that. We want to explore just to see what's out there because you don't know what you're going to discover. Nobody would be talking about the Big Bang or dark energy and dark matter without space exploration. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be having this conversation electronically across a continent without space exploration. But the other thing for me, you guys, I want to find evidence of life on another world while I'm still alive. That just would mean the worlds to me. So I claim if we could find life on it or evidence of life on another world, it would change this one. It would change our world. Everybody would feel differently about being alive in the cosmos. I mean, and, we all accept that the Earth is, well, almost all of us accept that the Earth is a ball that has changed the way we do everything. Commerce, navigation, reckoning of the seasons and time on clocks and computer clocks and everything. And so I would like to find evidence of life, some sort of like fossilized pond scum on Mars. But what would be really cool would be to find something still alive. Does it have DNA?
Right.
Little Martian microbes, little Mars crobes. Do they have DNA or are they a whole nother thing?
And this is, you talk about this being an exciting time, and it really is. I work on a book up at JPL every year called, well, doesn't have much of a name, Technical Highlights 2022, technology.
Well, what are you guys going to call it this year?
Technology Highlights 2022.
No, you're going to call it 2023.
Well, this year, yeah, but we're still working on the 2022 book because they were last year's,
Oh, it's not out yet. Oh, okay.
No, it's this close.
If it were out, you guys would have sent us one at the Planetary Society, and I would have looked at it.
We'd send you 10. Yes. But I bring it up because one of the stories was about a chip-sized analyzer that can be sent to scrape up ice on the surface of Enceladus or Europa, where the plumes have, frozen and fallen back down. So at this point, we're looking at gathering, we being JPL them, looking at gathering samples from orbit of those plumes. But I think it sounds like the jackpot, rather than trying to get down through that ice, might be just scraping up stuff off the surface and finding if there's either pre-organic or a prebiotic or perhaps microbes coming out with those plumes.
Yeah, I've wondered for years, are there Europanians, Europanian fish people?
Yeah.
Who have something like instead of hell, where you go down, do they have something where you get sucked into a guy's and shot out of space?
Stuck on the other side of the ceiling, right?
Yeah, and they don't have the Europanian fish people, if they exist, don't have the same concept of the night sky or stars or what have you.
Right.
Plus, a few of them have gone to the surface through some fissure, some crevasse that opens into the lower ocean, and they come back, and people don't believe the stories they tell. Could be.
Maybe if they built a black monolith there, that would be very cool.
Where's Andy Weir on that one?
Right.
The guy who wrote The Martian. He had some science fiction thing on this.
You mentioned JUICE earlier too, and JUICE stands for Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer, to look at.
I'm all for it, man. So this thing where Io, the moon of Jupiter Io, is shooting volcanic stuff out, and it lands on the surfaces of the other moons.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff to be shot out onto another moon. I mean, the scale of stuff at Jupiter really is hard to get. It's mind-boggling.
So if you're going to roll the dice, would you expect to find, let's just for now say, if we're looking for life off Earth, it's probably microbial. You expect it to be on Mars or those worlds? And if so, do we expect same kind of DNA or something different?
I expect the same kind of DNA on Mars.
Huh.
Yeah, so I expect that Mars cooled off faster than the Earth, got an ocean and an atmosphere 1 billion years before Earth. So I like the hypothesis that I'm digging and want to do all we can to verify or just debunk is life started on Mars 1 billion years before it started on Earth. Right. Mars gets hit with impactors, whoop, 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 and it fell. And it's with home in orbit, landed here, and you and I are descendants of Martians. That is just an amazing hypothesis. But it's worth testing. It's worth the cost of a cup of coffee per taxpayer every year. That's worth it.
So for anybody who wants to know more about this, you look it up under the delightful name panspermia. Panspermia, which is either life from Mars to Earth or life from Earth to Mars. Name your favorite. Tariq?
Well, as Carl Sagan used to all say, we're all star stuff. We all came from space one way or another, right? So.
So Carl Sagan always said star stuff, which has alliteration. Neil deGrasse Tyson likes stardust, which is romantic. But I like stuff includes molecules and things. See, just organic. Well, don't make me pick. You need them both. Back to you.
I think Mars goo would work for me.
Mars goo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was struck recently with the Society's announcement about the end of the Lightsail 2 mission.
Oh, Planetary Society.
The Planetary Society's announcement about how successful that mission was. Testing a Lightsail and how it would work in orbit. And the reason I brought this up is because Lightsail 2, as its name suggests, was the second one after the first, and we were talking about the legacies of the Society and the people that make it run. And I was just curious about your thoughts about testing a new technology like a solar sail, how that even arises as one of the things that the Planetary Society would do, and if it's vindication at all, to be as successful as it was when it was a bit of a challenge getting to get there in the first place and getting people to take it seriously.
Well, so everybody understand that when I was in class in the spring of 1977, Carl Sagan talked about a spacecraft that would catch up with Comet Halley, what many of us grew up calling Halley's Comet.
Mm.
And it came by in 1986. And so these guys and gals were revving up to have this enormous solar sail launch from Earth, go from equatorial orbit. It would shift to polar orbit, shift to retrograde orbit, and then shoo, sling out, except in space, there's no sound, of just out to Comet Halley. And the deal was, the premise was the solar sail would have thrust way the heck out there for months at a time. Even though there's no rocket fuel and no so-called traditional specific impulse exhaust velocity, it's day and night, except you're in space. There's no night. And so it would catch up with Comet Halley, but that mission was canceled. In exchange for the budgeting, the money went to the handshake in space, where U.S. astronauts shook hands with in those days, Soviet cosmonaut. And that way the Cold War was over and there'd never be any more conflicts between the U.S. and Russia. It's all good. I'm glad we got that done.
Yeah.
Bada bing, yeah.
But the dream of solar sailings was alive with Carl. And Lou Friedman, one of the founders, wrote the book on solar sailing in 1985. And I read it as a member. I bought a copy. I thought it was cool. And so the idea or the dream of solar sailing has been around a long time. Now, when you are a small nonprofit, you have to set your goals so that they're achievable. Yes, you want the big, hairy, audacious goals, the BHAGs, yes. But you do have to be reasonable. So one of the challenges, so in the meantime, along about 2010, JAXA, Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, launched the Icarus, the interplanetary kitecraft accelerated by radiation from of the sun, Icarus. It reminds me of Japanese baseball, where the names of the players and everything are in Romaji. They're Japanese words with Roman letters. Very easy for us to read. And so anyway, they got away out there and it was going to go to Venus, and it did eventually. But man, they lost the main spacecraft, lost contact with it for quite a while. I had to get around the sun a whole extra time. But they were able to steer very slowly. This is from memory now, about 5 degrees a day, 5 degrees of arc. So a 100th of a circle, a 70th of a circle every day. So if you're going to steer in space, that's may not be as useful as you'd like, and it's certainly not doable in Earth orbit. So we took on this challenge of building a solar sail spacecraft that could orbit Earth, and there's several missions that such a thing is uniquely qualified for. One of them would be asteroid hunting. The other one would be monitoring Earth's climate from above the North or South Pole. The word above, from distant from the Earth, above the South or North Pole. Anyway, so we took this on and we got some funding from a couple big donors, and then we got the whole 50,000 member society on board with this. And we built 2 spacecraft. As Steve Squires pointed out, do you know who Steve Squires is?
Yes.
Principal investigator on Mars exploration rover Spirit and Opportunity. Now he's the head scientist at Blue Origin and a grandfather. Yep. He points out, by the time you build one, you might as well build a second one. Doesn't cost that much more because there's a design that costs a lot of money.
That's right.
Paying people to figure it out. And so we were able to build 2 of them. The first one was quite modest. It couldn't steer and this and that, but we got a ride, as the saying goes. We got a spacecraft, a rocket, to take us into space as a piggyback, as a part of another mission. And there was 2014. And so this is here. That's what the CEO does. Once in a while, somebody's got to decide to do something. And so the question was, even though this free ride or inexpensive ride was inexpensive, it was to a pretty low orbit, 400 some kilometers. So, it's not going to last very long. I mean, it's not going to do much. So even at 400 kilometers above the Earth's surface, there are air molecules, and it runs into them and it burned up. But we proved it would work.
Right.
The big thing is we got the solar sails to deploy. There was another mission NASA did called NanoSail D. And D, for you aeronautics buffs out there, capital L is lift, capital D is drag. And so NanoSail D was going to be this spacecraft that would prove the deorbiting of satellites by latching onto them with a big parachute, a sail in space. But it didn't work for several weeks. My recollection is 6 weeks. So it was on orbit. They sent the command, deploy, open up, go ahead, open the pull the ripcord, let's go. And it didn't do it for a long time, but eventually, poing, up to space once again, and the sails came out. And the speculation is it was heating and cooling. Every time it went around the Earth, it got cold and hot, and eventually thermal expansion and contraction shook it loose. But we did not want that. We didn't have that luxury of it not working. So the guy who really figured it out, Chris Biddy, was, very young. He's 20 something. And we designed a mechanism and tested it. The motor to deploy it really is literally made by a Swiss watch company. And we got it in orbit and we deployed the sails. Hey, man. Yeah. And another thing that happened for you CubeSat buffs out there, cubicle satellite buffs.
Uh-huh.
At first, it didn't work. It was on orbit. Nothing happened. Sent it commands. Nothing happened. And these guys with a lot of experience, the crew with a lot of experience Barbara Plant said, oh, don't worry, there'll be a cosmic ray and the computer will reboot. Now, kids, I did very well in electrical engineering, okay? But I'm a mechanical engineer. I don't write software for a living. I'm like, dude, really? You're going to wait for a cosmic ray? Well, that's what happened. It got and it rebooted and then it worked. So then it burned up. But one of the moments of my life, I guess I'll never forget, when these things are on orbit, we know, or people know where they are with extraordinary precision. So I was in New York City. I went to the roof of the apartment building, and your phone has all sorts of software that can serve as a compass, a directional compass, azimuth. And I pointed that thing on a ledge on the roof of, I'm from recollection, 27-story building. And there it was, this tiny dot. There it was, man. That was it. And I saw it go really low along the horizon and disappear. And it apparently burned up sort of the next couple of days. So that was Lightsail 1. Well, Lightsail 2, we did not allow for that silly, wonderful cosmic ray reboot. And we got to a higher orbit and everything worked. We were able to twist in every orbit, every 45 minutes, twist, get a push, twist, get a push, twist, get a push. And we proved that it could be done. And the other thing for those listening and watching, the thing that I did not anticipate really, we got a very nice deal from the Aerospace Corporation, which is the actual name of an actual company. Their big office is right at the end of the runway at LAX in Los Angeles. Anyway, they gave us these cameras. And they're just extraordinary. The pictures that the crew, Bruce Betts, our chief scientist, and the guys and gals at San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly, California Polytech, were able to get, and Georgia Tech, what they were able to get are just spectacular. Wow. And so we proved it would work. We did a lot with software. We did a lot with hardening electronics without adding a lot of weight. Like the Cassini mission, had to be really radiation hardened.
Yeah,
Anyway, we pulled it off, and I'm very proud. So thank you all out there. Thank you, Planetary Society members, for supporting us, because people are still analyzing the data. They'll be analyzing it, writing papers for another couple of years.
Yeah.
Solar sailing community is a small bunch. We all meet every 2 years at the Solar Sail Symposium, and big fun. So a lot of Japanese guys and gals involved in solar sailing, and it's cool. So they have another mission going to Jupiter. Yeah, back to you.
So in closing, we have a question that was sent in from Sam Bingham, who's 9 years old. He's a listener who's contributed a joke to us before, which was actually very good. But he wanted to ask you, how do you feel about kids watching your first shows 30 years later? And would you change anything if you could go back and do that?
Well, it's gratifying. I mean, it's amazing. This guy's the third generation of people watching the show. And certainly that was a goal. The goal of the old show at the top of the page of the show description says, objective, change the world. So it really says that. And so I want people to watch the show when they're captains of industry and running the governments of the world to make things better for everyone. But it's very gratifying. And what I would say is I try to get it. I try to understand the depth of it. What would I do differently? There's a couple of shows I wish we'd thrown a little more money at, but if we could have done it differently and we had a bigger budget, we would have shot it on film that would be suitable for the modern aspect ratio of modern video. But that's, as they say in country music, that's whiskey under the bridge. Nothing you can do about playing a double negative for comedic effect. Yeah, there's just, for those that technically, we would have shot it on a wider screen, but the technology barely existed back then. I mean, certainly not for the budget that we did it. When you shoot something on film, it has to be developed, and then editing is mechanical. You have to glue pieces of film together. But we had you guys doing the Science Guy show. We had Avid software, which is an Apple product, I guess. But we had 12 gigabytes of memory. Yeah.
And you paid a lot for it too back then.
12, you guys, with 12 hard drives in a room in a warehouse in Seattle. And we literally had the heating, air conditioning, ventilation company come and cut a hole in the wall for a little air conditioning unit and like a dryer hose, to keep these 12 hard drives cold or cool.
All right.
So that's what I do differently, Alex. Is it Alex? Did I get it right? What's the guy?
Sam Bingham. Yeah.
Is Sam a boy or a girl? I said he. I don't know.
I think it's a boy.
Yeah. Well, hi, Sam. Thank you. Watch the show. Turn it up loud.
Okay. And in terms of going, what you might change in the past, I'll just remind everybody, you're still on with new stuff. So let's move on to the new shows.
It's on the electric television. And so what was figured out and is surprising to me intuitively, we get a global pandemic. You might think that people want to watch romantic comedies, get away from it, watch joke shows. No, they start renting Contagion.
Yeah.
Like, give me more.
Right.
So what we did is make 6 one-hour disaster movies in television format. And the idea is, in the first half hour, we show you the disaster. It's tsunamis in the Pacific Rim, drowning all these people. Everything goes wrong. It's a comet nucleus impact, kills everybody, like the ancient dinosaur kind of thing. There's a solar flare, double solar flare, which are common enough 12 hours apart. So all the lights all over the world go out. Woo! So the first half of the show is a disaster. And some disclosure in the first half of the show, I get killed. But then in the second half, I come back and I explain how everything would be great, how we could address this problem, how we could prepare for it, how we could be ready with what, Rod? Tariq? With science.
Science. There we go.
So Sam, science. And so watch the show. It's streaming on Peacock. Turn it up loud.
That was like one of those moments when you're sitting in class at Stanford with your mind drifting and the professor says, and Rod, what do you think? And I go, huh? So
story of my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Say to me, Rod, they say something. They say, Bill. That's right.
Yeah, you don't want.
Thank you, man.
You don't want to be me.
It was big fun.
It's a pleasure. And where's the best place to keep up with what you're up to?
Planetary.org, obviously, your homepage, and then BillNye.com, your second.
BillNye.com. All right.
But check out the Planetary Society, listeners. We're very proud. We're the world's largest non-governmental space organization. I can guarantee you we're the most influential space organization. If you are interested in space policy, we have the world's foremost authorities reporting, informing you. And if you want to do something about space policy, whether you live in the US or not, we are here for you, man, woman. Check us out. If you have an interest in listening to podcasts about space, this one's pretty good. But Planetary Planrad is pretty good. And then check out our website because we got images every week. We have people who are experts who post the world's, I claim, most authoritative long-form journalism about space.
Yeah.
And we're all about exploring the planets, planetary defense, air raid sirens, planetary defense, and search for life on other worlds. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Tariq. Where would we keep up with what you're up to?
Well, I'm always at Rod at space.com, as you know. And I'm on the Twitters at Tariq J. Malik. You can find me this weekend actually downloading that Planetary Society app and finding some like-minded folks to look at Venus and Jupiter in the night sky. And of course, watching their rockets launch this weekend, and hopefully some astronauts come back.
All right. And of course, you can always track me down at pylebooks.com or at astromagazine.com. And I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram from time to time. Please don't forget to drop us a line at twis@twit.tv. That's TWIS at twit.tv. We always welcome your comments and suggestions, and we answer all our emails regardless of what you have to say. Don't forget to check out space.com at, well, I said it, space.com, the Planetary Society at planetary.org, and of course, the National Space Society at nss.org. Both are great places to satisfy your spaceflight cravings. New episodes of this podcast published every Friday on your favorite podcatcher, so make sure to subscribe, tell your friends, give us reviews, thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever they got, and we really appreciate it. You can always head to our website at twit.tv/twis. Finally, don't forget you get all the great programming on the TWiT network ad-free on Club TWiT, as well as some extras that are only available there for just $7 a month. No blue check marks required, and you can follow the TWiT Tech Podcast Network at TWiT on Twitter and on Facebook, and twit.tv on Instagram. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Carry on, you guys. Let's change the world.
Let's do it.
Hey, I know you're super busy, so I won't keep you long, but I wanted to tell you about a show here on the TWiT network called Tech News Weekly. You are a busy person, and during your week, you may want to learn about all the tech news that's fit to, well, say, not print, here on TWiT. It's Tech News Weekly. Me, Micah Sargent, my co-host, Jason Howell. We talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news, and we love the opportunity to get to share those stories with you and let the people who wrote them or broke them share them as well. So I hope you check it out every Thursday right here on TWiT.